I just called
to say I love you.
as a jazzy Valentine's greeting.
Oh, indeed, yes. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. Welcome to That Pedal Show Viewers and Comments and Questions Live. Dan here.
Mick here, hello. Dan often gets referred to as my work wife. By my actual wife. So, yeah. What better could you be doing on Valentine's Day than hanging out with a bunch of guitar nerds? It just is perfect.
It is perfect.
It's perfect. I use nerd in an entirely derogatory and insulting sense, by the way, given that that's what we all are. Yeah, welcome. Welcome. Happy days.
Happy days indeed.
I haven't got enough things, Dan.
You need more things.
I haven't got enough things. There is a dearth of things. There is less than the requisite number of things. The ideal count of things is less than ideal. Now this is going to reverberate and annoy me. Anyway, which scintillating introduction brings us to today's business.
Indeed. Yes. Thank you for joining us. Again, please subscribe if you haven't already. We've got a few things to, some housekeeping before we move on. I got a few more T-shirts, the lovely Misty Pink.
Misty Pink. Somebody, and I apologise for not noting your name down, if indeed you are watching, has been asking for ages if we'll do a pink T-shirt. Now, it's not like shocking cerise or anything. It is a Misty Pink.
But it's lovely.
Not entirely unlike Shell Pink. Looks kind of white in this light because, well, it's quite light in here.
Yeah, it's like M&S salmon. Lovely. Very good. Box ticked. Another very important box to tick. If you are a patron and you were an active patron on to and up, like from before the 4th, I believe, is that right?
It was last Friday before 4:30 p.m. GMT. So if you were an active patron before Friday the 11th, I think it was.
Right.
Friday the 11th of February 2022. 2022.
Yes. You would have
2022.
you would have received an email.
Yeah. Because we're gonna start doing regular giveaways to patrons, to active patrons, and this giveaway we're going to do them monthly, and if it goes well, we'll do them even more regularly.
At least monthly, we're doing them.
Yeah. You have to answer a fiendishly difficult question and display a show of skill in order that we comply with various competition laws. You can't even give shit away these days. My personal Benson preamp.
Yeah, that's a lovely one.
It's going to go to one patron who gets picked from the lucky correct answers. So yeah, if you were an active patron before 4:30 p.m. GMT on Friday the 11th of February, and we will check, you should have an email in your thing. Check your junk folder, click, go follow the link, enter the competition. Happy days.
There we go.
And that'll go to one winner. What?
Just it'd be difficult for it to go to more than one.
Well, I made a video and Catherine said, you've said that if they answer the correction, the
correct answer.
The correct answer, they'll win the pedal.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, there's only one pedal. They're like, yeah, but people might misunderstand.
Right, fair
and
enough.
I am done with this planet. Yeah. Let's see if that works. Anyway, we wanted to do something for patrons. We don't offer any extra content or anything, so we did want to do something that is a show of gratitude to everyone who is a patron, because it's really important to us, and we're massively appreciative of your support,
Indeed.
as we are to this, indeed, viewers' comments and questions.
Yes.
To which we shall gallop.
Indeed, indeed. Yes, Mick and I are having a romantic evening this evening, being Valentine's Day. So we're going to try and finish on time this week.
Meat feast takes on a whole new meaning, Dan.
Man.
Anyway, good morning to Whit Anderson. Hello, Whit. I see everything twice is here. Carrie Boo M. Hey, lads. Why didn't Fender enter the lunchbox amp head market? That's a really good question, actually. You could say they might have had it covered in the EVH. Fender, I think, owns EVH or did own EVH. They might have had it covered there, and any other sub-brands. But yeah, no, they didn't, did they? They didn't do that. David Pekarski.
Hello, David.
He says, greetings from Northern California. Hello. He's got a Fender Parallel Universe White Guard Stratocaster, and it couldn't be a prouder new guitar day.
Oh, lovely.
Good on you, David. Daniel Herbert. Hello, Daniel.
Hello, Daniel.
Lots of people saying hello to BV Ninja. We shall add our chorus to that.
Indeed.
BV,
Legend.
thanks so much for doing what you do for us. BV is moderating the chat.
My son's going to have a new guitar day.
Is he?
On Saturday.
Your son is playing the guitar.
You won't believe what's transpired over the last couple of days. I got home from work. Anyway, Stack says, Dad, can I borrow... Oh, can you show me something on the guitar? I'm like, yeah. I've never pushed him in guitar direction. You know what I mean? He plays drums, he plays a bit of bass. Anyway, sat down with him, and within 15 minutes, he was playing Dirty Deeds, AC/DC. No, and he just took to it. It was amazing. Anyway, as any parent of a teenage son will know, I am desperate to find anything to keep him off tech. He's hardly been on tech all weekend.
Because he's playing guitar?
He's been playing guitar.
That's a win.
All weekend.
That's a win.
He's playing chords and he is absolutely into it.
No way.
So I'm going to take him down Anderton's on Saturday. Anderton's don't know this yet. But going to...
Buy him a guitar?
Buy him a guitar.
We do have a few around here.
I understand that.
Yeah,
okay. But they're mine and I don't want him touching them.
Right.
So I also don't want him touching my guitars at home. So... he's decided he wants a Strat.
Right.
So we're going to head down to Anderton's and go through the process. And there's the single most important thing that I would look for in finding a beginner student, a new guitar.
The colour.
Well, it'll be something that you'll see in the video.
Right.
But so I'm going to do a quick, it's a really simple thing.
I'll be interested what you buy. It'll be a Squire Classic vibe, I hope.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. Cool. Well, nice one, Zach. That's really cool, actually.
So cool. People that have been watching for a while may remember Zach as Mini Mick.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he has been on the show before, but he is no longer Mini Mick.
No.
He's only an inch shorter than me now.
Nice. Kansas Anthony says, from Dijon, Le France, mon gars.
Oh.
Haricot Vert. Kieran Jones says, good morning, good day, and good evening from Seaford, South Australia.
Oh, lovely.
Perfect timing on last week's show as I was looking for a boost.
That was a very funny intro. It was very good.
Yeah. Lots of people very annoyed that I said vitamins, not vitamins.
I say vitamins.
It's because you're Australian.
Okay.
Me being English...
How do you spell it?
Well, Americans say vitamins, Australians say vitamins.
Okay.
English people say vitamins.
Oh, you've got to be different all the time.
Well, it's like, it was almost deliberate, actually. But anyway, it doesn't matter. It's funny what annoys people.
Nate Nagel says, hello from North Dakota, US. And Elias Keranen says, hello from Finland.
Ah.
How lovely.
Finland. Land of the Finns. That's as much as I know about Finland.
Everywhere you go.
Yeah. I think they make pretty good rally drivers on account of the fact it's pretty slippery up there when it snows.
Right.
So quite good at drifting around the corners.
Okay, so
Yeah.
as a process of natural selection, everyone that hasn't been good at that has sort of been turfed off the road somewhere.
Well, I think that the
very
driving,
good.
as I've been, this could be one of those things you get told, which isn't true at all. The driving test involves things like sliding around and, learning how to
Drifting.
control a car. Yeah. Sort of like what all the kids do in B&Q car park. Anyway, let's move on. Right, let's get to the chats, shall we, Dan?
Indeed.
We're going to try and stay on top of it tonight because Dan and I have got a romantic evening planned with a meal and
What are we having?
and romance. Well, meat feast, obviously.
You had me at Meat Feast.
Yeah, yeah. So, I'm just going to stop and we'll get on with it, I think. Oh, we've got quite a few chats. Thank you to everyone who super chats.
Thank you,
We
everyone.
appreciate it. And
It's
we will
wonderful.
do our best to answer earnestly, honestly, and with some useful information. Michael McFall says, I need an adult.
Good luck, mate. You
Gonna
might find
say-
one here.
I don't know why you're here, mate. He says, I'm selling my Supro BK12 and I want to know what amp I should get for studio bedroom playing. That's a great pedal platform. And Bev, thank you. I got your text that says budget is $600 to $800. Okay. Studio bedroom playing. That's a great pedal platform. So those two things can be working against one another in what we generally take to mean as a pedal platform amplifier is something with plenty of headroom so that the pedals can come through loud and clear and you can hear all of their everything. In an amp that has lower headroom, what happens is everything starts squashing and overdriving in the front of the amp and it shuts the pedals down a bit. Now that's an equally brilliant way to do it and can sound fantastic too. But normally what we mean when we say pedal platform is something with headroom.
Yeah.
So the next question is, how loud do you play? And if we're saying, bedroom playing, for most of us, that means a bedroom in a domestic environment, probably with neighbours, which means not very loud at all.
Yeah. The good thing about that, though, if it's for bedroom and studio use, some of the best recorded amp tones are small amplifiers turned up.
They
so
do record great.
you don't have to worry about it being a different headroom level for bedroom and recording. So let's see.
$600 to $800. See, even something like my go-to in a small amp that's relatively well priced would be something like a Fender Pro Junior.
Yeah.
But that's loud enough to gig.
Sure.
It's plenty loud. So if you have the volume turned down, then it's got plenty of headroom to be a brilliant
Pedal platform.
In your bedroom.
Yeah.
One of the issues with the Pro Junior is it has a single tone knob, and I don't know if this is too much information, but what happens at lower volumes is you tend to boost bass and treble frequencies in order that it sounds fuller and more present. There's a psychoacoustic phenomenon related to that called
The Fletcher-Munson curve.
the Fletcher-Munson curve. And then as you get louder and louder and louder into a band context, you probably want to roll off that bass. Now, in a low volume listening environment, lots and lots of bass and quite a lot of treble sounds really nice and pleasant and lovely. And that's why those, Bluetooth speaker things sound great, because they've got all that sorted out. The point of saying that is that the Pro Junior only has a single tone knob, whereas the Blues Junior has got a set of EQ controls, bass, middle and treble. But I don't know. Dan and I sometimes agree on this and sometimes disagree. I think for that level bedroom playing, the modern digital amps are a better shout.
I agree, except for when it comes to it being used as the main amp for recording.
Yeah. Agreed.
So I would much rather, Pro Junior, Blues Junior, even they do an AC4, a Vox AC4, little 4-watt thing, which sounds phenomenal. but quite limited, quite narrow focused.
Quite boxy sounding,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah.
By design, whereas an AC15, which you might be able to get used for that sort of money, or maybe even new, I don't know what they are in the States.
AC15 is a good shout actually, because it's
I mean, it's quite physically large for home, and it's also loud, but you can turn it down.
Yeah,
and that's what gives you the headroom.
Indeed, and it does sound great turned down.
It really does,
because it's got a nice preamp on it. Yeah.
But there's so many great things out there. You know, there's brands that are much more popular in the US that we don't get here, like Egnator makes some really fantastic amps at sensible prices.
Right.
Blackstar, obviously, we do get here, but I think they're more expensive in the States because they're from here. But the Artist 15 is a great shout for Blackstar.
Yep. Laney do some good.
Laney do some great stuff. Yeah. There's so much. There's so much out there, but it is. I personally find it hard to look past Fender just because they are amplifier history.
Yeah, sure.
And they make great amps that loads of people like for good reason. So,
yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Best of luck, mate.
Yeah. Good luck. Right, we might need to hurry up. Trio Life. What are your favourite recorded guitar tones? I could go on and on, but I'll start with Band of Gypsies, Santana, Lotus, Wish You Were Here, and on Deep Dive for David Torn, Tripping Over God, Shofar in particular.
Okay. The guitar solo tone on Year of the Cat, the solo, is my favourite. It just stunning, wonderful. There's a Neil Finn B-side, which was on one of those compilation things where they throw some of the like demos and B-sides in, and it had the most awesome AC30 tone, but I can't remember the name of that. The guitar sound on Black Sea, XTC Black Sea, magic. Wow,
it's just this.
It's just endless.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you can't separate the tone from the performance, right? You can't separate that where they feel so connected.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the thing. That's the
all the engineers comp together a really good take.
Hello.
I was listening to something. I can't remember what it was. I was listening to something the other day going, hang on a minute.
Right, oh really?
Yeah, I need to remember what it was. Okay, so a couple of classics from me. Just out of the ether are Led Zeppelin 2, Jimmy Page, just anything on that record. Eat 'em and Smile, David Lee Roth Band.
Best recorded rock guitar sound ever.
Yeah, it's just fantastic. Steve Vai with his Green Meanie and the carving amp, I think, but who knows? Could have been all kinds of things.
There's a Marshall, definitely a Marshall that Steve Stevens lent him.
Yeah,
for those sessions as well.
Oh yeah, why did I say carving? Idiot. Sorry. But the Green Meanie, I think it was pre.
It was pre.
Ibanez.
It was pre Ibanez.
Anyway, that, and then couple out of the less obvious would be Michael Landau's last record, which is called Rock Bottom.
Cool.
First track on that's called Squirrels. That's got 2 or 3 of the best guitar tones I have ever heard in my whole life, ever. Especially, starts off the solo on a 335, and on his 335 he's got the pickups out of phase, and he starts off in the out of phase position. It sounds really like, you know,
yeah.
And then he kicks in to the main part of the solo with just, to me, it is the perfect guitar sound.
Yeah.
For my personal tastes.
Sure. Other two, I have to say, some of the tones on Grace, Jeff Buckley Grace, extraordinary, and some of the guitar sounds on OK Computer. The solo guitar sound in Paranoid Android, and where it morphs between the glitching sort of low res PC thing back into it's totally inspiring. And yeah,
I'm Gonna Miss Her by Brad Paisley.
Oh, nice. Very good.
Yeah,
very good.
Muddy Waters version of Can't Be Satisfied.
Lovely.
They're all great. They're all awesome. Anyway, let's carry on.
We may have to turn off the super chats. Just saying. I
Thank
just saw
you
a whole bunch come in.
for the question, Trio Life. Let's have a look. Yeah, maybe we will. Yes.
Okay.
In order that we get out here at sensible o'clock.
Okay.
Not that we are itching to get away, by the way. It's just, you know. So I'm now going to turn off the chats de super.
Very good.
If you super chatted up till this point, we will answer you. If you, please don't do any more super chats because they are now off.
Did I tell you I did a 48-hour fast last week?
Did you?
Yeah, I did. I
How
left
was it?
here. I got home, and I think from yeah. Anyway, did 48 hours. It was amazing, actually. Best tasting. I made myself an omelette to break the fast. It was a really simple omelette. Best tasting meal I've ever had.
Did you have a motivation for doing the fast?
Just I wanted to break.
Yeah.
I wanted to give my body just a chance to, and then see how I felt. I was straight back onto the.
Yeah.
I thought I'm gonna go back onto keto after that. I didn't, but I felt, and I still feel really good after it. Been sleeping really well after it as well.
That's
yeah,
good.
It's really good.
I think all that like 5-2 and all that is a bit like the nutritional equivalent of bipolar.
Yeah, whatever works for you. But it was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun.
That's good. Yeah.
Oh, Scott Gaylor says Holdsworth metal fatigue. Yes, that magic guitar sounds. Also, Holdsworth live in Japan.
Big in Japan.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Amazing.
All of Rain Dogs by Tom Waits.
Very good.
Big in Japan's not on Rain Dogs, just in case anyone gets angry about it. Greetings from Hopewell, New Jersey, says Whit Anderson. Hi, Whit. My happy place is a Les Paul into a Beano boost into a Plexi.
Yeah.
Whose happy place isn't that, frankly? How does the Cornish compare to the Beano in terms of tone character and peak and noise floor? Much love to you, phalanges. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, thanks.
We'll be doing a new treble booster show soon because I've got a whole bunch of new ones. Going to line them all up and we're going to hear them all. It's going to be fun.
Prediction.
It does look superb. I'm very excited.
I plugged this in today.
It's incredible.
Even I like this. And I don't like treble boosters.
Right.
It sounds spectacular.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, that'll be a fun show.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
Maybe we should do that tomorrow.
No, because I don't have more here.
Oh, you're waiting for something?
Yeah.
I think the good thing about the Beano is it's got that switchable mid-range, isn't it?
Yeah. There's a whole bunch of them who've got that, but
And I think, so with the Cornish, you kind of get,
that's
it.
That's it.
And it's magic. I think the Beano's got a bit more peak, if I'm honest.
Okay.
I think it has a bit more upper,
Right.
as it were.
Let's say I'll double check. I might have them here.
But
Let's have a look.
we need to test that, obviously.
Yes.
I see everything twice. Hi from Boston. I wondered if I could get your thoughts on Partsicasters. I want to make a vintage telly type thing. I'm thinking of putting one together to hold me over while I save for a custom shop. Is it a bad idea?
Is it a bad idea? Not at all. In fact, they can be spectacular. It is a lucky draw.
Yeah, it's the luck, you know. Despite what you might see elsewhere on the internet, it does make a difference what the guitar's made of and what's attached to it and all the rest of it. Or, let's take the other point of view, it doesn't matter at all. And the only thing that actually matters is the pickup. Whichever one of those routes you want to go down, I think it's a great experience putting one together.
It is
really good fun because you learn a lot about. Everyone just assumes that those guitars get thrown together by, barely functioning Neanderthals. When you read things on forums, it's like, oh, these things are just thrown together by idiots paid minimum wage. It's like, it's not that.
No.
It's a little more complex than that.
Yeah.
And actually putting it together in a way that involves a bit of care, certainly on the setup side, is quite the art.
Yeah,
So
totally.
and then getting it to, but of course, I think if you're the one whose hands has put it together, you won't be scared of it. You'll be happy to get in there and try things. You'll be happy to mess about with setup and all of that. I think it could be a great shout. It can get very expensive.
Right.
If you buy premium stuff, it can get really, really expensive.
But you don't even have to buy premium stuff. If you get a neck and a body and it's like, okay, now I need a bridge, now I need pickups, I need electrics for it, I've got to get... And then it's like, the tune is... It's like, by the time you put it all together and set it up, it might be amazing, but yeah. But totally worthwhile doing. It's like, I think everyone should own their own business. I think every guitar player should build their own guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What might be interesting is to try and do the cheapest one you possibly can and one that's at the top of your budget.
There you go.
And see if you can notice any difference. Joseph Perigo says, why can't I get t-shirts in the US? You can, Joe, you just can't buy them in the US. You've got to buy them here. And the reason for that is if we sell them in the US, we lose too much money on them and it doesn't make us any money, which means we can't keep the show going. So we sell them from here. That's how that works.
But we do ship to the US every day.
Yeah.
So, yeah, absolutely can get them
to
the US. Very good shipping rates, I might add.
They are good shipping rates and it's quick too.
Yep. Noah Bottomer says, I put together a telly with nice parts from Warmouth and learned a lot about fine-tuning the setup.
Yeah.
Plays great. Ended up costing around $1,100. So not cheap.
No.
It's not a cheap option, but if it interests you, man, it can be so much fun.
When you can get a frankly stunning Squier Classic vibe for about $400.
There you go. Yep.
Yeah. But, as always, in all things in life, it's not the destination that's the interesting thing, it's the journey.
Yeah, of course.
So, yeah, good on you. Oh, dear.
Patience, my pet.
Dan Herbert. Hello, Dan.
Hey, Dan.
Howdy, guys. Friday's show was great. I got a 65 Princeton reissue 6 months ago. The power tubes started failing recording this weekend. Suggestions for swapping out. Do I go for the same GT6V6 or something new? What's the bias situation in that amp?
Which amp is it?
Princeton.
I think you're able just to swap them straight out.
Yeah, so yeah, I think you do when you change the power tubes, you do need to have it rebiased for those power tubes.
Right.
Which isn't a tremendously simple job, I don't think. I don't know if it's got...
Yeah, fixed bias really should go on the bench with the scope and set it so it gets maximum.
Some amps include, like Victory amps, for example, include biasing points where you can do it safely.
Set the milliamp, yeah.
So what you might want to do is try and buy some valves of the same spec as the ones that were in there.
Yeah.
Failing that, get something else and have a tech rebias it.
It makes a big difference getting that done properly.
Yeah, I've always loved JJ.
Yeah,
and
agreed.
I've no basis in any sort of fact or measurement or anything other than that. Just that every amp I've ever loved seems to have them in.
Yeah.
So, well, many amps I've loved seem to have them in.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah. Happy Valentine's Day, says Plexico.
Oh, thank you, mate.
Happy Valentine's Day. I see everything twice again. Hi again, good heels. Have you ever experienced a disconnect in what you want to like and what you do like?
I
want to like Les Pauls, but I'm drawn to tellies. I want to love Vox, but make friends with Fenders.
Now, this is really important.
Yes,
and what I really like about this question is that you are acknowledging your own reality, that what you're actually drawn to, which is really important. So when it comes to finding your sound and finding things that you connect with, I mean, I wanted to like Les Pauls for the longest time, which then took me a long time to find a Les Paul I actually bonded with. But I, played a Strat for years, and I never liked the look of Telecasters. I always associated them with music I wasn't that fond of. But then I had a '64 Strat that was stolen. I had the night of that gig, a friend said, "Here you go, take my guitar," which was a Telecaster. And then all my prejudices and my predispositions about the Telecaster sort of fell away almost instantly. And it was like, oh, I totally get this now, and was so drawn to it. And it's really a really important thing about finding your sound is being able to separate the thing that it's like sticker brand stuff. Getting to a point where you're not thinking about any of that stuff. You're only going by what you feel, what it sounds like, what it's and how it's connecting with you. And it's really hard to do.
It's impossible to do.
Yeah. But the closer you get to that point where it's like, all I care about is the way it plays and the way it makes I feel when I play it.
Yeah.
That is the way.
There's clearly a very complex relationship between one's, let's call it, motivated reasoning.
Yeah.
And reality, because I think often it's like when Dan and I get asked to do blind tests on things, it's the assumption behind that question is there is an objective reality here, and that you're biased against this thing based on your motivated understanding of it. Motivated understanding is a posh way of saying bias, but there are many kinds of bias, right? So just to say bias isn't very descriptive. For example, we might have something like effort bias. If you've put together a guitar and you've spent 200 hours doing it, your effort bias is massive.
Absolutely.
And you're going to say how much you really love that guitar.
Yep.
You're unlikely to be able to be objective about that. Confirmation bias, you've made the decision, therefore it's correct. And if you do a bit of work on bias, you'll find that there are all kinds of different biases that work in different ways, and people who do stats will account for these algorithmically in studies and stuff. Mm-hmm. What we're normally talking about is motivated cognition, motivated understanding, and that, the most obvious place for that is politics. So if let's say you've got two parties in your country, you've got Republicans and
Demagogues.
Demicons. Demicans. Yeah, Demicans and Republicans. Let's say you've got those two in your country, and you've always voted one way and you've always felt one way. If that lot say something, you're more inclined to believe them than if the other lot say it. That is what motivated reasoning is. So let's run swiftly away from politics to religion. No, let's not do that. It's exactly the same with religion, right? But of course it's the same with guitars. Let's get back down onto terra firma. And that motivated reasoning is every cultural experience, every tonal experience, every Jimmy Page you've watched stood on top of the pops looking awesome with a Les Paul.
Yeah, right.
And it seeps into you and it becomes part of you. And to think you can just let all that go is cobblers. You would need severe psychotherapy over a sustained period of time to think objectively about something as subjective as art and guitars and music. All of which is to say, I think trying to push all that away and get rid of all of your subjectivity is totally counterproductive. It's like swimming against the tide.
Yeah, right.
I say swim with the tide, go with all your biases, go with all your subjectivity, and have at it.
I like it.
So, to your question, you want to like Les Pauls, but you like tellies. I don't really know where that leaves us, other than going to play 200 Les Pauls like Dan did, until he found one that he liked.
Yeah. And it's okay. You can. I I love all the guitars. I keep coming back to red. So this is a bit of cognitive bias thing, because I spent all my money on my 65 Telecaster, and I love that guitar. It is a lot harder to play than red.
Yeah.
And I picked this guitar up recently and thought, I'm just going to see what, and it's like, oh my goodness, it's like, I've worked so hard on getting to a point where I'm really comfortable with that old Telecaster, but I pick this up and I go, it just reminds me of why I like this guitar so much. Now, there was a point where I remember playing the old Telecaster thinking, why would I ever play red again? Because it was like, this guitar is everything I've ever wanted to be. And then I pick this up and go, oh, actually, you know what? Yeah, so it's all good. It's all good.
It is. And the other, I guess, you've got to let the thing be what it is.
Yeah.
It's quite often, like, if you're early on in your guitar life and you've had one type of guitar for most of your time, you come to the next type of guitar and you try and approach it like you would that guitar. And you find that it doesn't do all the same things. Well, no, it doesn't do all the same things, and you can't really impose that on that guitar. You've kind of, in a way, you've got to let it do what it does and let it lead you a little bit, which is harder to explain. But I did. To answer the question, there's quite a lot of things like that I feel I should like, and I end up liking something else, and it can lead you down some epic rabbit holes.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Enjoy it. Enjoy the journey.
We're doing a video tomorrow. I'm trying to find some overdrives that work nicely with my 2-Rock because I'm doing a gig. I'm going to make a video on it. I've been through 20 overdrives today and I don't like any of them. So the next question is the problem the 2-Rock?
Yeah,
which is a question I'm not willing to ask at this point. But it should make for an interesting video.
Indeed.
Yeah. Okay. Oh my God, we are going to have to... Sorry, I'm completely talking too much. James No. If you had a protein, Gladio, Dane, Clone, KOT, Harlot, and Page...
Yes, go.
Blimey, O'Reilly.
Yep.
Which ones would you put on your board and in what order?
Okay.
It's an impossible question, James.
It is.
You're swinging some serious overdrive pedal balls there, aren't you?
You really are. You really are. Page and KOT staples for me, and I'm using the Page as like a much gainier overdrive. I almost had the gain flat out on it. KOT before that. It's
yeah, I mean, that's just, it's overdrive pedal royalty.
Yeah. It all depends on the guitars you're playing, what amps it's going into.
Yeah. I probably wouldn't bother with the valve ones.
Right.
Because I find that whenever I put something tube overdrive wise on my board, I have to mess about with everything else too much. Because of the headroom required, because of how sensitive they are to what you stick in the front.
Right.
So if I was doing that, if I was using tube overdrives, I'd have a very, very stripped down rig elsewhere.
Right, okay.
So I would go... I mean, there's not much you can't do with the protein and the Gladio.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Or the Dane and the Gladio. Yeah. Good for you, mate, and good luck.
Best of luck, yeah.
Brad Schultz. Any thoughts on doing a show about string material? Figuring out that I like different materials on different guitars has made a real game changer for me. Cheers from Orlando. That's really interesting.
It is interesting. When we did our strings... Mick and I have a couple of signature sets of strings that we did with the lovely people at
Kurt Mangan.
And there's a certain metallurgy that that Kurt uses in his strings. And Mick and I were both instantly drawn to the way that they sounded and felt, and it does make a difference. And even if you look at it electronically, the way that the composition of the metal moves across the magnets and creates that voltage, that stuff is really important.
Yeah, I was always pretty cynical about all of that stuff. One nickel steel string, unless you go pure nickels, chromes, stainless steel, they make a significant difference pretty quickly. But I was always a bit, not entirely convinced that Slinky sounded massively different from EXLs to the next string that was the same kind of construction. But then digging into it a bit more, it's like, oh wow, actually they do sound quite different.
Yeah.
And depending on the shape of the core and how tight the wrap
All
is,
all
that stuff. And when we first played the Kurt Mangans, I was like, oh god, a bit like overdrive pedals. I need another overdrive pedal. Like I need a hole in the head. What is so different about this one? And we both went, put them on, and I didn't say anything. And then about 2 weeks later, I said to Dan, do you like those strings? I really like those strings. And he's like, yeah, I really like them. So, I don't know. But yes, certainly if, so one of the common things with nickel is allergies. So some people can find that they've got very corrosive oils and sweats in their hands, which can really cause a problem and maybe even cause an allergic reaction. So if you want to move away from nickel, you can go to stainless steel strings. The chromes are pretty dull sounding, I think.
Right.
You can get pure nickels, which feel a little more elastic to me. I don't know whether they actually are or not, and go off in a different way. So yeah, it's really interesting. I think from a personal point of view, I've done all the experimenting I want to do, because I've just found that regular, the normal nickel wound guitar strings they do the job.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried anything different for any period of time?
One of my first major tone revelations was when I tried DR, hand wound strings, whatever.
Yeah.
In Australia, back when I was like 16, I think the first bit of recording I did, I bought some of those. And I couldn't believe the difference they made.
Yeah.
And so I've sort of been down, did the whole blue steel cryogenic underpants thing, and tried a whole bunch of different things. Where I am now, the more earthy, vintagey type tones, these are by far and away my favourites. I think also because I use a thicker gauge, and for whatever reason they don't feel the tension feels.
They definitely don't.
Yeah.
I don't know whether that's a wrap.
It's really interesting.
A core versus wrap ratio or whatever it is. But anyway, yes, it's always a good thing to do, and it's much cheaper than buying a new guitar. So definitely worth doing that. I like pure nickels when they're brand new, and then almost not at all after that.
Right. Interesting. Yeah, best of luck.
Chris Groom says, why no super chat? Because we turned it off, Chris, in order to get through them all, which we're clearly not going to do. Levi Charleston says, Mick, do you still feel the same about the John Mayer record? Yes, I do. Yeah, I do.
And I do too.
Not that it matters. Millions of people love it. Millions of people love it. So please don't. It carries no weight. Yeah. Matt Miller, what year did Fender start using the RWRP middle pickup in the Strat? I don't know.
That's a great question.
I don't know. That's a great question.
Yep.
I'm sure it's Googleable.
Yeah.
Right. Someone wants to know if you're top loading, Dan.
No, I'm not top loading. Through the body as the good Lord intended.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have tried the top loading thing before, and it's okay. What I found with the top loading stuff was the where the string is wrapped was just grabbing on the bridge.
Grabbing on the saddle, yeah.
But no, I like them through the body.
Tends to be more an Esquire thing, doesn't it? I thought the top loader thing on telly bridges. Doesn't make any difference though, of course, Dan.
No, of course.
The only thing that makes any difference is that pickup.
Exactly.
Even if it's not attached to anything at all.
No.
Just for anyone who was unsure about that. G Barge, Soul Brothers, he says. I'd like to thank our mate from last week who recommended Peter Frampton's All Blues album. Superb lineup of collaborators and attention to guitar tone. I've been enjoying it all week. Happy Valentine's Day.
Oh, lovely.
Happy Valentine's Day, G.
Cheers, G.
Apart from us, obviously, we hope you're with somebody you love. Christian Nizio, he says, oh wow, man, he says, yesterday was the 10th anniversary of a gnarly suicide attempt. And I just want you all to know that you really do bring so much light to the dark days. Endlessly grateful.
Oh, mate.
Well, yeah, before we move on, bloody hell, we're glad you're still with us.
Yeah, definitely.
Please stay with us.
Yeah.
He says, any advice on developing a tone and playing from the heart? No wrong answers. Happy Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day to you, mate.
Yeah, happy Valentine's Day. So that's the eternal question, right?
Let it go.
It's the whole reason we're here. And just, I had a bit of a revelation. It may sound really simplistic, but I was able to articulate it for the first time in a long time. And it was, to me, stop playing guitar like you want people to like you.
Yeah.
And just being able to articulate like that, I was like, oh, yeah. You know what I mean? Because I find that with...
It's good advice for life in general.
But the whole thing, like with red light fever.
Yeah.
It's like, people are going to be watching this.
Yeah.
What are they going to think of me? It's like, if I stop playing guitar like I want people to like me, it's just going to make things so much simpler.
I think it tees into that what we were talking about earlier about motivated reasoning and all of that, in that you approach any situation with a bunch of expectations.
Right.
So what you're talking about there is your expectation is that you're going to play well enough that people like it and you'll get the good feedback. And it's probably more complex than that in terms of, some of your other expectations are it's going to be a perfect tone, it's going to be a great environment, it's going to be all these things. And then it's really easy for, for life to come along and just take pot shots at each one of your little expectations there.
Yeah.
And knock one out and all of a sudden you fall over.
There's a difference, though, between playing guitar that you want people to like the playing and playing guitar that you want people to like me.
Yeah, right. Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like they'll think better of me if I play like this.
Yes.
I love the idea of playing something and people go, oh, that's beautiful, and that affects me in a certain way. It's a very different thing saying, if I play like this, people are going to like me.
Yeah.
So that's a different thing.
Everything's important in that world. The only time I've ever experienced it is when a bunch of factors are in play, and all of a sudden, we talk about this before, and many of you watching, I hope, will have experienced this as well, and I hope Christian, sorry, let me get that right. I hope, Christian, you might have experienced it a time or two yourself where time is in a different paradigm.
Mm-hmm.
You're kind of without anything tying you to anything. It's pure freedom. And what happens is the inspiration to play just comes out of the guitar. And there's nothing in between. No cognition.
Yeah.
No, oh my God, I need to play this 7 sharp flat major 9 chord here. All the conscious processing of information is removed, and all that comes out is expression. Now, I sound like a giant hippie when I'm saying that, but that is what art is. And every now and again, sometimes it happens.
Yeah.
And it's really funny, like the way I know it's happened after it happens is that maybe there's a complex passage or something that I've been nervous about playing. And I don't think about it. And I've got literally all the time in the world. And it's almost like part of the way through playing, you're going, God, I could do this 3 times this fast, or I could put another 18 notes in here, and it would be fine. But do you know what? I'm just happy.
Yeah.
And that might not be the audience perception. So it might just be a purely personal thing. But I think that's it. I think it's trying to put down everything else, everything around you, and let go.
Yeah.
Normally, unless you're being an arsehole in a sort of group environment where you're just being too loud and blowing over everyone and not being in any way sensitive to the other musicians. But if it's your, if it's appropriate and it's your time, the vast majority of human beings are totally with you.
They are willing you to succeed
in that moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a wonderful thing.
And you might step too far, right? You might fall flat on your face. And that's the glorious moment, because that, just being on the edge like that is the best place you can be, I think. You don't want to fluff every solo in every song, but it's okay.
Yeah.
And you won't feel bad about it. No one will judge you for it. It's like, it is what it is. It's not a negative thing. It's great. It's all about moving.
Yep. Wonderful.
Sorry, too much hippie talk, but I believe quite passionately in all that stuff. And
just realise there is no spoon.
Yeah, put all the shit down, which again is quite rich coming from Dan and I, because we sit here talking about the shit every week, right?
Shit.
That's what I've been trying to do, finding my overdrive pedal for the amp, is like just finding something that just lets it all happen freely.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Thanks for joining us, mate.
Yeah.
You keep taking care of yourself, and all of you.
New Strat owner here, says KJ Photo.
Nice.
Congrats. I'm looking for tips on pickup heights relative to each other. Should they all be even? Staggered? Cheers from the Big Apple. Depends what Strat, depends what pickups, but let's assume you're talking about vintage type pickups and a vintage type Strat. If only I had one. Let's look at this one. Right, what tends to happen is this one is furthest away from the strings, and this one is closest to the strings.
That's a toy cow. That one's far away.
Yeah. So normally you get a bit more height on the bridge, a little bit, not much though. And then on vintage type pickups, now I hope the comment section will literally catch on fire now with people saying that the stagger on vintage pickups is stupid because no one has a wound third anymore. All I'm going to say about that is that people haven't used wound thirds for eons, and Strats sound great.
They do.
So anyway, don't get too worried about it. Normally what you do is you have the bass side down a bit and the treble side up a bit.
And if you think about it, that makes sense, because the amount of energy you get from a larger bit of metal going through the magnetic field is going to create more voltage as opposed to a smaller amount. So with the thinner side, the thinner strings with the magnets closer to the strings, the larger strings with the magnets further away, to get a more of a balanced, more of a balanced sound. Now I've heard guitars with the opposite, with the thicker side closer, and they still sound great. So
it depends. It also depends how strong your magnets are.
Yeah, right.
Because the stronger the magnets are, the in a way the less, maybe the less sensitive those micro adjustments are. When I first got this guitar, we messed about before we did a couple of filming sessions, and I just said, I'm going to drop the pickups, and I dropped them by not much, about 1 millimeter, if that, and it was audible, wasn't it?
Totally.
And people who are really into this stuff will tell you that those tiny adjustments really do make a difference. But yeah, start with, if it's a vintage type Strat, start with the neck pickup cover poking out the scratch plate between 1 and 2 millimeters, and the treble side a little bit more than that. So, and just go from there.
Yeah. Hello.
It's sounding mega, this guitar.
It really is. It really is.
I've still got the Texas Special pickups in there, and I've got a couple more to try. But yeah, it's sounding pretty good.
It really is.
It's got that thing up top that I'm just.
But it also has this punchy mid range that I haven't heard on any of your other Strats, which is divine. Which actually part of the motivation for me getting Red back out again, because it's like, none of my other tellies are going to compete with that.
God. It's, it's been a while.
Indeed.
Josh Connett. Hi, Josh.
Hello, Josh.
He says, hey guys, I have a Tumnus OCD EP booster TS9. I'm trying to get the higher gain Maya tone. Think the tone from Who Do You Think I Was? I've got a Hot Rod Deluxe and a Strat with Texas Hot Antiquities.
Antiquities is really nice.
Yeah, that sound, if you've not heard that track, it's a really great track actually. There's a really good version of it on the Live in LA record from 2008, was that? With Pino Palladino on bass and Steve Jordan on drums. Something like that. I can't actually remember the riff. It's something like that. To me, that sounds like Happy Home for Mayo. It's
right.
Something like that. It's slowly coming back to me. Slowly coming back to me now.
We've got 1,100 people sat there.
Watching this. Yeah.
Jamage.
Tube Screamer. TS9 to get the mid nose on it and to get the compression in the overdrive is quite important. I must learn how to play that properly. And then I would put some sort of cloney type thing after it. What have we got? Yeah, Tumnus. Wouldn't bother with the EP booster and the OCD. It's not really that sound. I'd go TS9 into Tumnus.
Yeah.
And then I don't know whether it's a neck pickup thing or whether it's a 2 and 4 thing. I'd have to have a listen. It's probably a neck pickup thing.
But you get pretty close, I would think, into a Hot Rod Deluxe.
Yeah, it'd be great. Into the clean channel of the Hot Rod Deluxe.
Yep.
Set the Tube Screamer with the gain about halfway up. You want to be running quite a lot of level if you can, and a fair bit of tone in a TS9. You could start with everything at 2 o'clock and roll the gain back a bit. That would be a good start.
Yeah.
Tumnus, just get a bit of overdrive in there, not too much, because what happens is you get the double mid hump, and that's what gives you that sound.
Yeah, the Tumnus mid hump is a little bit higher than the mid hump in the Tube Screamer. Tube Screamer is about 750 hertz, maybe between 750 and 800, whereas the Tumnus is bang on 1K.
Yeah, there you go. So that'll help. Josh Connett again. Hi, Josh. Again, he says, have you heard of Lamb Chopper 678 on YouTube? He's a master at recreating metal tones from the 80s.
Oh, nice.
And beyond. Despite that genre not being your guys' niche, would highly recommend a watch.
Cool.
Fascinating
Sounds
world,
like
that.
fun.
I've been to my fair share of metal tracking sessions in a previous life, and I find it thoroughly fascinating how some of those sounds were made.
Yeah.
Multi-tracking pairs of strings for a start, so that intonation over chords is correct.
Yeah.
Just unbelievable amounts of compression, EQ, fiddling. You know, everyone thinks it's like an EMG into a Tube Screamer into a dual rec. Yeah, that might be where it starts, and then this much studio afterwards. Good to watch.
David Beretta says 1,100 people have found Valentines that lets them watch TPS, or they need to find someone else that lets them watch TPS if they're alone. Well done, David. Thank you, mate.
David P. Poole wants to know if we've got a suggestion for best all-round compressor that has a blend control, and that's for someone who covers many genres. Keeley Compressor Pro.
The Keeley Compressor Pro is fan-flippin-tastic. Even the later, the 4-knob Keeley compressor, it just sounds great. If you're new to compressor, that's what I would start. If you're looking for an exquisite compression experience, it's really hard to go past the
Origin Effects?
The Origin Effects. Whenever we've used that, no matter how we set it up.
Which one?
the original Cali 76.
Cali 76, yeah.
It just
Compact Deluxe is probably
sounds
the one to go for.
mega.
It's not an overt compressor. It can be, but it's for us anyway. It's best when it's one of those things where you're like, oh, it's not really doing anything, and then you turn it off. It's like, oh my god, it's doing something.
Yeah, yeah.
There's
a bunch of great ones. The new one by Empress is wonderful.
Yeah.
I really like the Analog Man. Analog Man does a mod with the blend in his Ross comp, which is the one that's on my board at the moment. Sounds sensational.
Compressor.
The Compressor.
And the Bicomp.
And the
sorry, that's what you said, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That is spectacular, the Bicomp.
Yeah, it's really good.
By Analog Man, in case you missed that.
And there's another one. There is the Rwrp.
Team Medic, is it?
No, it is. It's there. It is the
Fat General.
Fat General. And Dave Gregory has that at the start of his board, always on, and everything goes into it.
Oh, nice.
It just has it a little bit. It's like magic.
Yeah, it's very good.
Really great.
I personally would go for the Keeley Compressor Pro. I can get to all those what you might call cliched compressor sounds very quickly on that pedal.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Good luck.
Josh Connett. Thank you for your generosity, Josh. He says,
Thanks, Josh.
Nick, how can one purchase a Rwrp? Must you call an order? No retailer has had a classic reverb in stock. Is there a stock issue right now? Thanks. I don't know, Josh. Retailers do get them because that's how Rwrp sell. They don't sell direct. I don't think they sell direct. I would drop an email to Rwrp and ask them the question, and they will tell you whether they're back ordered or not. The amps are made meticulously by humans, and the top guy checks every single one of them.
Indeed.
So they can only make so many.
Yep.
Or they only do make so many.
I just got a text message from Andy Timmons
Nice.
this very second. Just sending love. It says, can't wait to hang again. I can't wait to get him over here and do those gigs. Okay, gonna happen. Cool.
That would be very cool.
It would be very cool.
I can't wait. Josh, just to finish on that, he said for the Mayatone thing, he also has a Deja Vibe Custom Shop Mark II Mini. Yes, that's not. You won't need that for the Who Do You Think I Was rhythm sound anyway. I don't know if there's any of it in the solo. Maybe he switches it on in the solo. Can't quite remember. It's a very Hendrixy thing because he does. It segues into the Hendrix, and that's maybe vibe comes in there. Can't remember. Anyway, Rand's there. No, Mark Rothstein. Hi, Mark.
Hello, Mark.
Hi, guys. Just supporting the cause. Cheers.
Oh, thank you, bud.
Also, I'm seeing Biffy in Philly on the 25th of April. I can't wait. I'm sure I'll be the oldest by 15 years at least, but age is just a number.
Mate, I just love those guys so much. They are so wonderful. You'll have an absolute blast. They were the first band I saw after lockdown, and it was like, I remember feeling like this. I remember this, the sensation of loud guitars completely pulverizing every cell of your body. And it's like, I live for this stuff. You know, they are wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Have fun, mate.
Ranzer, I love my Muggatone, he says.
Oh, thanks, pal.
Thanks for buying one. He says, so warm and sweet, sometimes even creamy. Also, no mud in the bottom end with black coffee. Highly recommended. Dan, how's the new band doing, and are you going to tour internationally soon?
It's great. We've got I got a session with Doug and Mark on Wednesday night where we're getting the bare bones of one of the new tracks down and start arranging and stuff. Paul's coming up again soon from the weekend where we're going to do some more writing. We've got ideas are flowing. Everyone's inspired.
Nice.
Oh man, it's wonderful.
That is a nice place to be.
It's wonderful. Tell you what, what I love is like Paul's up there with some of the, one of the greatest guitar players. He can There are moments when I've seen him play at the 606 where I thought this is the best guitar playing experience I've ever been involved with.
This is Paul Stacey, for anyone who didn't get that.
He is a monster of tone and and feel and everything. And his big thing is just let's make a noise and see where it goes, and just having fun and experimenting. It's like there's no pretense with anything. It's just about let's just have a go. And it's still, even at that level, it's like, let's just have a go and see what happens. It's like, oh man, it's so cool.
Well, he's the epitome of what we were talking about earlier, isn't he?
Absolutely. He lives for that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to be out there.
Yep.
Relay the solo experience from your recent rehearsal, Dan.
Oh, we're doing a tune, an old Tin Spirits tune, with quite complex chords. And I said to Paul, well, your solo section and the chords are, he goes, don't tell me the chords. I don't want to know. I'm just going to play. And we said, okay. And I filmed it at his first go. And it was so beautiful because there's this exploration as he's working his way through the changes and as he's discovering, and it's like, it was magic. And Doug and Mark and myself were just staring at each other with sort of mouths up and going, how's he doing this? It was magical.
There is an important distinction to make here between 14-year-old me and Dan doing that and just making a god-awful noise, which might be glorious, but it doesn't resemble music, versus someone like Paul who's done his 10,000 hours doing that. You know,
10,000 hours on just one altered chord.
The reason he can do it is because he's done the legwork.
Yeah.
But he can then forget the legwork and
just be open
just
and
start
sensitive.
running.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Digger68. Hello, Digger.
Hey, Digger.
Howdy, Legends. I ordered some T-shirts last Monday and was wearing one for Friday's show.
Oh, fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you, bud.
What are your 3 top modulation pedals? I use a Deja Vibe, Phase 9T and a C2 Waza Chorus, but I need more. Flanger? Second phaser? What would you get?
I get 3 flanges. No, so flanges, my thing. I absolutely love it. I love the CE1, but not just for the modulation, and I love it for the preamp. And when you lean into it, it breaks up in a very specific way, and that's magic. But a flanger, if we go back and have a look at the ways to use a flanger episode, there is so much in a good flanger. There are phases and there are phases. So, for example, if you look at like the classic script, phase 90 has a sound very different to a phase 100, very different to a if you look at the old Maestro MP1 phaser with a really hi-fi sounding phaser. There's loads of different sorts of phasey type sounds. Different again to the Neutron phaser.
Yeah.
So, identifying a sort of phase sound that you like.
You could try before and after overdrive as well. That makes a colossal difference to
Huge.
the sound of, well, all of it, but phasers especially. Like if you think of Isley Brothers, that lady kind of phaser-y sound, that's phaser after overdrive, and it's very, very present and bright and all of that, whereas before it's more subtle, so you could try that.
Yeah.
But things you don't have, rotary speaker. Now, I'm not sure that actually qualifies as a modulation pedal, because
absolutely does.
It's a simulator. It's a simulation of a.
But it's a simulation of a wobble.
Yeah. So a good rotary speaker is great fun, as is harmonic tremolo.
Yeah.
Harmonic tremolo is colossally good fun and a beautiful thing.
Yep. Vibrato as well.
Oh, good shout.
Listen
good
to
shout.
some really creative uses of vibrato. John Schofield's use of vibrato is wonderful. Stephen Wilson's use of vibrato. Magical, and it just, certainly one worth checking out.
Yeah, and a ring modulator.
There you go, very good.
And have at it in the 5th go round blues in G. You don't even have to play your semitone intervals. It'll just do it for you. James McGaha. Hey D&M, greetings from Oregon.
Ah, greetings indeed.
What overdrives or always on tone shaper do you recommend for my JC120H head into Mesa 112 Eminence Swamp Thang, paired with my P90 loaded Jaguar? Love the show, thanks.
A JC120 head.
Yeah.
Okay, so...
They're not very common.
No. They're...
Mostly combos, weren't they, JC120s?
Yeah. I used a JC120 for a couple of months when I was working on a cruise ship in Singapore, and that was the only amp they had. And what was really interesting about that amp, they're super quick, right? The transient is so bang on, which is why a lot of people like them for clean sounds. But a nice, warm valve overdrive into the front of a JC120, a valve overdrive that's got a really nice soft compression on it.
Slow it down a bit.
Magical.
Yeah, and or a compressor, obviously.
Yeah.
To like a boost and a compressor in series could work quite nicely.
Yeah.
What else? EQ obviously is a great always on tone shaper. But when we talk about tone shapers, we usually talk about compressors and light overdrives, don't we?
Yeah.
So yeah, any compressor that's got a blend control, so that if you love that quickness of the JC120, which is what it has, you don't have to lose it all in the compressor. You can
Indeed.
retain it by having the blend control. And in terms of a valve OD, actually, we really like the Blackstar Department 10 Boost just recently.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's featured on last week's show. If you missed that, go and check that out. It sounds mega.
Dan actually preferred it into the Fender. It was giving a bit of softness, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I found that the into an amplifier that's already limiting still sounds great, but there's a warmness and a roundness to it. However, going into an amplifier with loads of headroom that has the potential for very quick transients, that just seems to do a magical thing to the front of that note.
Yeah,
really, really great. Really liked it.
That makes me happy.
Yeah, there you go.
500 milliamps.
Very good.
Good luck, James. Jordan Clement. Hello, Jordan. I'm looking to get into my first tube amp after only ever owning modelers.
Yep.
What would be your advice on something giggable that sounds great at bedroom volume? I'm thinking Morgan for power scaling or Tone King for attenuation.
If that's what you're thinking, if that's the ballpark you're in, you are absolutely bang on. Either of those will sound great. Depends on the flavour that you're after. For example, Morgan do many different flavours. The Morgan PR12, which is the Princeton type thing.
Oh, that's such a great amp.
It is monstrous. And
Morgan PR12, in case you missed that.
The great thing about that is that the power rating of it is in such a sweet spot because it's more than loud enough to gig. But you can get it into that sweet spot without, in a small room, without killing people, which is fantastic.
I was trying to get that in the sweet spot earlier. It's like, yeah.
But it's worth, the Tone King, if what you're after is that more of a black panel type Fender experience, I don't know that I've played a better modern amplifier for it.
That's the Imperial Mark II. We both love it.
Absolutely divine.
I'm going to say unreservedly up to a certain volume.
Yeah,
if you like really loud, really clean, the kind of volume that most people can't play at anymore, it won't do that. But it will do normal band volume, lovely playing, lovely dynamics, and you've got the attenuator if you want to, crank it at home. It's really spectacularly good. A lot of money, but really spectacularly good.
Yep.
Also check out different flavour, but check out Sir Badger range. Also has very good power scaling.
Very good.
In the 35 anyway, if they still do it, is a great amp.
65 amps as well is worth looking at because their power scaling is fantastic, and they've got range through from Vox inspired things to the more, Fender. They're really, really great amps.
Yeah. Yeah. Good luck, Jordan.
Yep.
Hope that works out for you.
Yeah.
Michael Gilberto, he says, hello from Chile, Connecticut. No comment or question today, just supporting the good work.
Thank you, mate.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you so much.
Hey up me ducks, says Luke Shelbourne. Newish listener here, learning a lot. I'm running an American Pro Strat into a Blues Junior. Can you recommend some ODs and boosts to run alongside a Tube Screamer for Stevie and Maya vibes? Much love.
Over to you, sir.
For pure Stevie Ray, after the Tube Screamer, you could try the Pedal Pawn Texas Twang.
There you go.
Which is a pedal that I still don't fully understand, that I try to make sound great and fail, but every time I hear it on a YouTube demo, I'm like, oh my God, that sounds like him. I think it was based on a Cesar Diaz modded Rangemaster or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, indeed.
So it's basically a treble booster, but anyway, Stevie, safer, and that will cover a bit of Stevie and a bit of John Mayer, is a Klon type. So either the J Rocket Archer, the Wampler Tumnus Deluxe I would go for rather than the regular one. Although the regular one's good, it's just got a lot of bottom end. The Rock Your Repaired Amp, Rwrp, the clone. There are so many good Klon types out there. Seriatone make one that looks exactly like it. Keriatone, I don't know how you say it. The Klon that Bill Finnegan made after the
KTR.
KTR, thanks, Dan.
Yeah.
KTR, Klon KTR. I would say that's a pretty good partner for a Tube Screamer for Mayery Stevie tones.
Yeah, wonderful.
Yep. Good luck. Music Therapy Laz.
Hey, mate.
Hey now, Leggins, BV and friends. Happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you.
Says Music Therapy Laz. If you've got someone to love or not, pick up a guitar and play your heart out to them. Nice.
Probably get a punch from my wife at
Me
this
too,
stage.
me too. I'll be like, can you please go and do the washing or something? She's what she would say to me. Non-aligned. What's the worst gig you've ever played, playing-wise, and have you learned anything since that might have saved the show?
Oh man, there's been so many.
I've got 3 that stand out in my memory.
I remember like being 16 and doing, because I was doing all the stuff, and we did this show put on at a hall in Beenleigh. We printed post-it flyers and stuff, and a friend of mine had a few amplifiers, and he came down. I had like 4 amps all hooked up together, and my Roland GP8 and everything. And I did an unaccompanied guitar solo, like in the middle of 2 tracks, where I was just making, whale noises with the guitar. And everyone's going, oh, and I'm going, oh, I'm rocking out. And I run forward. And I pull the lead out of the amplifier.
Yes.
So as I'm making this, it's like nothing. So that was a learning experience. It was air guitar. I did a gig with Doug and Mark at a venue in London, and it was a cover thing, and it was rammed, right? And I playing these songs, and then all the guys, it was hilarious. Anyway, all the guys take their tops off, and it's jumping around. There's like a tiny little venue, and there's would have been 300 people in front of us, and just this sweatful thing. We're like, yeah. So Doug, Mike, and myself, we ripped our tops off. We're all playing topless, and then suddenly, within about 60 seconds, it cleared out. The room cleared out. Mark, Doug, and myself are left with like 2 people, no tops on, and so in the middle of songs, we're trying to sneakily put our tops back on as we're playing. So that's why it's like, okay, don't do that again.
So it wasn't really about bad playing as such.
No, there's just gigs I learned a lot from.
Yeah. Any bad playing experiences?
Most. I've had, well, yeah, I mean, we've all had gigs we haven't been on.
You've just got to, you have to, I'll tell you mine in a minute, but you have to not judge it, and you just got to be okay by it and do what you said, which is learn what you didn't do and don't do it again. And don't beat yourself up about it. Don't feel down about it. So
my little sister's wedding.
Nice.
And there was this song playing, and anyway, she had a church band there, and they asked me to come and play guitar for her. One of the guys says, I know, do a solo in the middle of it. I went, yeah, okay, no worries. And then they're doing their thing, they're signing their vows, and I had this plugged in acoustic guitar. I think it was in C, and it was this beautiful, C. And I come and I go, and the first note was like C sharp, like, and I think their marriage was sort of downhill from that note.
There's nothing like a semitone mistake.
It was great. And I'll never forget, my uncle said to me after that, he said, hardly ever spoke to the man. He comes up to me afterwards and goes, yeah, it was a bit of a dodgy note you started that with. The notes after that were okay, but never forget that first note. That was the worst.
Yeah. But you do have to just go, okay, it's cool. I'm not going to beat myself up about it. One of the one is one, just being too drunk to play, and you play so badly. So that's just a no. Easy learn.
Yeah.
Don't be drunk when you play.
Yeah.
2, I remember I've so wanted an SG so badly that I got one, and I went to do the gig with it, and I didn't set it up or anything, and it went so horrifically. I'm pretty good actually with guitars that are not in tune. I can usually wrangle them back in, especially Strats. If it goes out of tune, it's no biggie. I can usually get there and get to the end of the song, and it's all fine, and it's fine. This SG was so horrifically out of tune. There's nothing I could do. Literally nothing I could do. And it was Highway to Hell by AC/DC. It was one of my favourite songs of all time. So I'm just playing the solo and it's bang out of tune and all the chords are out of tune. There's nothing I can do. And I'm just going redder and redder and redder and feeling worse and worse and worse and worse. And I came off stage and I cried and I felt just so bad. Yeah, something like that. The last one was Thinking You're Better Than You Are, sitting in with a bunch of people who said, oh yeah, come and sit in, play a few tunes. I'm like, great, please don't play anything too complex.
Giant steps.
If we just do a blues or something. And what do they launch into? A whole bunch of Stevie Wonder songs, a whole bunch of stuff with very complex chords, which I didn't know and I don't know. And I just look totally stupid. They stitched me up like a kipper. My own stupid fault for saying I would sit in. So know your limits.
Tony London says, I've fallen in love with Red. Is this a problem for me? Someone know anything about it? Tony, there's a whole video on Red. Mick and I done some videos on. We've got a few more to do on some instruments.
We need to redo them as well because things have changed.
They have indeed. But all the information you need to know about Red is on that video. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember Phil Hilborn telling me once he got up to jam with Les Paul at the Iridium. I'm sure, and I'm sorry if I'm misremembering this, but I think Les says to Phil, what do you want to play? And I think they played Misty or something like that,
right.
a classic. What key? So Phil says, oh, I don't know, this key. They go, great. Les calls it, and he calls it in a different key. No, the leader of the band calls it, and he calls it in a different key. To go, if you're going to come up here and play that, you better be able to play it in every key. And it's like, I'm out. Yeah. And he was fine because he's a monster guitar player, so he was totally fine. But yeah. Anyway, let's see. Anyway, what's the worst gig you've... Oh no, we've had that from Non-Aligned. Yeah. No more worst gigs. Loud live music returns, says John Newquist. The Church start their US tour right here in Petaluma. Happy days indeed.
Fantastic.
Mask mandates are lifted.
Wow.
Good
wonderful.
On you.
Well done, mate.
Good on you. Proton 45. I might not be able to catch this Q&A, but I love what you do. MA USA. MA Massachusetts. Let's go. Cheers from Texas, sister, says Mr. Avila. Or Mr. Avila, or Mr. Avila. Cheers from Texas. Do you have a preferred pick or plectrum that you use, or do you change it based on the style of music that you are playing?
Mick introduced me to the Prime Tone 1.5mm, and I have tried everything else. It was the most interesting thing about that pick. I really liked it, and then I used a few other things. I really liked it. And I remember I was recording, and I was having real trouble getting the tone to sit, and then I just picked up the Prime Tone, and it was like, there it is.
Yeah, Prime Tone standard 1.5s. There's a bunch of different Prime Tones. Some of them are slightly opaque, and some have grips on them. This is just a standard flat 1.5. Might even be 1.4. Can't quite remember.
1.5.
The only thing they don't work on is my acoustic.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, something about... I've got a Colling CJ35, which is a very traditional slope shoulder dreadnought type guitar. And it just needs something ever so slightly softer.
Right. Interesting.
Ever so slightly. Not much. Like, so if I go back to my Gator grips, which I always used to use before the Prime Tones, they sound fine.
Right.
I don't know if it's the sound or if it's me. The combination of the above means I struggle with the Prime Tones on the Collings.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm not a delicate acoustic player. I hit the thing with the plectrum.
I've got my first pick marks in my guitar now.
Excellent.
It's great.
Nice. Cheers from Texas. Yes, thank you, Mr. Avia. David Tompkins. I'm in the doghouse. Apparently, an 8-string Ibanez and a dual rectifier stack isn't an appropriate Valentine's gift. Practicing solo tonight, says David. George Radcliffe. Hi, D&M. Does the TPS philosophy department have thoughts on intellectual humility? Intellectual humility seems to be a key factor in meaningful discourse with other humans, and I think TPS does it well. See online courses by the University of Edinburgh. I'm guessing, and I don't know, I would like to read about this. This is right up my alley. Intellectual humility is probably some kind of emotional intelligence, is it? Where you don't assume that your intellect is above anyone else's and you deal with people in a horizontal relationship fashion.
Isn't that one of the issues between emotional intelligence and lack thereof, and the intelligence that knows that they don't know everything, as opposed to them lacking that believe they know and have the answers to everything. So that's where you've got, it can also be linked to inferiority and superiority complex. So if you start with an inferiority complex, you're thick, for example, that then becomes a superiority complex because you don't want to deal with the fact that you're thick, so you know everything. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's it. Right. That's fascinating.
I apologise for using the word thick, but that's not a very nice word to use. I'm sorry about that. It's a observed psychological phenomenon.
So it's an inferiority complex that manifests itself as a superiority complex.
So
wow.
Let's take intelligence out of the game and say that it might be guitar playing. You might think that you're a great guitar player.
Oh, okay.
So, intellectual humility. Something that's very important to me is something called Adlerian psychology, which is part psychology, part philosophy. Alfred Adler was a contemporary of Freud. Freud believed in determinism. Adler didn't. Part of Adler's view of things was that humans ought to all have horizontal relationships. And I think what you're talking about, or maybe one interpretation of intellectual humility, is probably to do with horizontal relationships. So whether you're talking to somebody older, younger.
But it is Valentine's Day. You can try something else. At one time a year will.
No matter what they are, you treat them with respect and you listen to them and you don't, try and intellectually stomp over somebody.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
I guess it's what it is. But yes, I'm very passionate about that kind of thing, about trying to treat people equally.
Yeah.
Lovely. Despite having just used the word thick. Mark Lavinish. Hi, Mark.
Hello, Mark.
He says, my stock Fender noiseless pickup covers don't line up with my Ron Ellis pickup pole pieces. Do the pole pieces sometimes vary? And do you have any tips? Yeah. Okay. Could be a couple of things. One is, I think pole spacing can change depending on the design of the pickup. Like, aren't some humbuckers, like Gibson humbuckers, closer together than Strats or something?
Yeah, because of the also you've got your F spaced pole pieces, and there's
okay. So that can change. I'm kind of surprised that one set of Fender pickups doesn't match another, especially that they're both American ones. Like if a
interesting
Japanese set, or a set made with metric measurements didn't fit an imperial set, then that would make more sense. But the other thing is the diameter of the magnets changed at some point in Strat pickup history, and I forget when it is, like 62, 63, 64, something like that. So I don't know if it's about the actual spacing of them vertically, as it were, or if it's the actual diameter of the pole pieces itself. Ron will help, because if you've bought some of his pickups, he will tell you what the problem is. Or whether there's something about that noiseless pickup that means the pole spacing is different. Sorry, I don't have a definitive answer for that, but congrats on the Ron Ellis pickups. Hi guys, says Mike 2203 fan.
Hello, Mike 2203
Hello Mike,
fan.
how are you? He says, I've had 4 Gibsons from new, but only one was set up quite well, my 335. Any ideas why pricey guitars bought online have poor setup? Thanks.
Right, so we had this conversation a few weeks ago when I took delivery of my gorgeous new acoustic guitar. And one of the parts of the conversation was how much time and energy went into getting that guitar set up to be perfect. And it is phenomenal how you can spend thousands and thousands of fun vouchers on an instrument that doesn't come set up. Now, part of the problem is setups vary greatly depending on the player. So, I think at the very bare minimum, there should be at least a basic setup where the thing plays in tune and you can alter to taste from there. But depending on your style and, the strings you want to use and all that sort of stuff, setups will vary greatly.
Yeah. They will. Briefly on the previous point, Bryant Wally says Fender has modern width and original width. Pole pieces, apparently. Thanks, Brian. That was a simple answer that we were trying to find. Yeah, what he said is right. I think there's a bit of... So what have we got? We've got, number one, environmental factors. So the guitar's made, in your case, in the USA, in Nashville in the USA, which is a fairly warm, relatively humid place, I think. And then it's shoved in a container or on an aeroplane, and it's shipped halfway across the world, and it's opened up in a store in cold England. And then it's hung on the wall for 6 months. Or 2 months, or 1 month, or a week. Now, good guitar stores will be temperature and humidity control, but even then, it's a new thing. It will move and it'll change. It might be that retailer either does or doesn't relook at that guitar frequently enough to make any changes that need to be made. I also think on the part of manufacturers who make a lot of guitars, they'll be cautious with things like nut height.
Yeah, right.
Because if you cut the nut too low, what happens? You need a new nut. If you don't cut it quite low enough, that's okay. That's something you can iron out with a great setup. And then what do we get? Fingerboard shrinkage, so the frets pop out the end, all that kind of stuff. As for what he just said about setup, yeah, we all like different things. So when I got my Strat, Anderson's offered to set it up to my liking. I said, don't worry, I'll do it, because I'll do it. So they will do it if you ask them. They should do it if you ask them.
Yeah.
Especially on a premium guitar. And as for why they don't come out set up at the factory, they do get a setup at the factory. I think all Gibsons are Plec these days as well. But anyway, you bear in mind it then goes 3,000 miles across the Atlantic, or however far it is across the Atlantic, and goes through a bunch of different things by the time it ends up with you. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's why it is, but
Indeed.
I don't know.
Indeed.
That said, I have never played an Anderson or a Sir
Yeah.
or a Collings that hasn't played perfectly.
Yeah.
So
it's that same thing.
there is there's something there maybe.
Yeah. I remember playing a few, like Nick Huber as well. All of those I've played have just been like, this is ridiculous. Do you remember Tyler guitars?
Yeah. James Tyler. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, same thing. It's like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone hated his headstock. I loved it.
But did you love it because everyone else hated it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Same reason I love the McMull one.
Oh, okay.
Because the non-Fender headstocks that annoy me are the ones where they go, oh, if we just change it a bit, it won't, it'll be like it, but not like it. I'm like, no, don't do that. Do what Tyler did, or do what McMull did. Go, look, we're not allowed to do this headstock, so let's brutalise it.
Yeah.
I love that. Perilous Temple says, hi from Mississippi. Fantastic boost show. Great playing in killer tones.
Thank you,
When
mate.
you're driving those amps, how much pre-gain versus power stage breakup are you running?
Everything blends into everything else. If the amp is set on the edge where it's working, then you are going to get elements of, the power stage driving hard. So if I'm pushing more, because it's boost, right? And we're taking the signal, we're enlarging that signal, we're pushing it into the preamp stage, which is then taking more signal and pushing it into the power amp stage. So it's not like, if the amp was quiet and the power stage wasn't working at all, then it'd be all preamp. But no, the amps are working. They're being responsive. The power stage working in conjunction with the output transformer driving the speakers, and that's if that's to a point where it's working. Then when you boost into the preamp stage, that again, it's going to hit those power valves, and you are going to get that bit of crossbar power amp limiting.
Just to say that the two amps that we were using are both non-master volume amps, so you don't get a choice in the matter. You just turn it up, right? And this is where the whole conversation around amps gets really interesting. So on the one, if you take classic cliches, on the one hand, you've got all those people who say, oh man, can't believe you set your amps clean and then use distortion pedals to get your distortion. Why don't you just crank the amp? Well, yes, you can do that. And that's a brilliant sound that we know from down the years. For those of us who do love amps, there's a spot where that amp is in just a beautiful place.
Yeah.
And that's where it's not, for me anyway, absolutely dimed across the board. And if it is, then you use the control on your guitar to get it into the beautiful place.
Yeah.
But actually, where we try and set the amps is in that, right on that spot, where when you play it with a guitar, it might just, if you hammer it just with the guitar, it might break up a little bit. But then when you hit it with a pedal, you're getting what he just described, which is the sound of the pedal plus the sound of the amp, and it becomes more than the sum of its parts.
Bingo.
And that, for us, that's the magic place, and why in some cases having a master volume amp and just turning the master down doesn't work, because all you've got is a sort of a much more flat and lifeless sound, depending on how you want to do it. Some people want that. They want the amp as headroomy as they possibly can, and they don't want it driving. So it's really about personal taste. How much was the deluxe driving? Interestingly enough, ours doesn't start driving till about 4.5, 5. Neville brought one in. Our friend Neville brought one in just recently, and that was well into overdrive by 3.
Yeah.
So they differ.
Indeed.
They differ.
Yeah.
Same with the Marshall. hit it with a humbucker, it's crunchy.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. It's such a sod, that deluxe.
Because when it's up there, as soon as it hits that point, it's magic.
It's magic.
But below that, it's like, just come on, just you're willing it. You're willing it to do good.
And of course, that point is just a bit too loud.
Just a hair.
Connor Larkin. Hi, Connor.
Hi, Connor.
He says, recently learned you can do Gibson 50s wiring on a telly. Have either of you tried it? I'm trying to retain a bit more high end as I turn down the volume knob.
So I'm assuming you mean you're changing the input and output wires on the volume pot. And I think that's just referred to as 50s wiring as on the telly, because you've obviously got two sets of volume and tone control in your... And so, yeah, I think most of my tellies are wired like that. The difference being, though, in Telecasters...
No, it's not that. It's where the lugs on the pots change and it puts it all in a different order.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. You're changing the you've got your wiper and you've got your output, and one is fed directly from the output to the pickups, and the other one goes to
Tone control or whatever.
the tone control, and then you swap that so that the it's either feeding the wiper pot or it's feeding the other end of the resistor.
Right.
And that's basically the difference.
Okay.
So...
But don't get that confused with 50s telly wiring, which is something totally different.
Yeah, which is where right,
which is where in the back position it's all straight through, and in the front position it sounds like mud.
Yeah, exactly that.
Yeah.
But I think
I've never tried it on a Fender, actually.
no, I'll have to have a look. One of the things with the 50s wiring in Les Pauls is because humbuckers are really susceptible to top end loss, and because of the nature of the humbuckers, whereas Fenders are much less susceptible to that stuff, so it's less of an issue. So things like the 50s wiring in the Les Pauls, they'll make a difference when people desperate to eke whatever top end they can out of those glorious old humbucking guitars.
Yeah. We should try it. We should try it just for the halibut.
Sure.
Yeah. But rather than go to all that hassle, all I do is have a buffer in the chain. So a boost that's always on, a fuzz that's on, turn down the volume, it'll be as sparkly and as bright and as clean as you need it. So that's how I personally get over that issue. The other side of that is if you don't want that, you can have it dull when it goes down, which is really useful for sitting under vocals. But
yeah, cool.
Yeah. Boost pedals rule, says watch my stuff. Now spell AC/DC.
I love a bit of ADDC.
Oh, anything ADDC is good. Albus Band, Aaron, he says, the authorities said best to leave it unsolved.
Best collect dust for vomit.
Speaking of which, here's one. If you could go back and save just one rock star from passing, who would it be? Love you. Oh man, that is an impossible question. It's Hendrix, obviously. Or Stevie Ray. But all of them. You can't. It's like, which one of your kids do you save? You can't answer that.
Janis Joplin's up there for me. Because I just one of those was just cut off in her prime. David Bowie.
Boy.
He'd already had an amazing career, but
say,
he still had so much left.
You
to
get
him.
into impossible conversations, don't you?
Yeah. Of course.
Okay, thanks, Aaron. Raphael Jungers says, "Hi DNM, watching your show, it's always a pleasure and an inspiration. I'm close to selling all my guitars and buying one top-tier Gibson Les Paul.
Cliff Patton.
Any thoughts about such a move?"
I love that idea if you find the right guitar.
Yeah.
So, like for me, if I got rid of every other guitar I owned, but I held on to this, I'd be okay.
Yeah.
I am all in for the idea of, if you've got 100 guitars and all up they're worth 10 grand, selling 100 guitars and buying one guitar worth 10 grand. If it does everything that you want it to do. I'm all in for that.
Yeah, it's a great idea, isn't it? I think you need at least two guitars.
You need a string breaker.
Well, you do need a string breaker, but you also need the guitar you want to play when you don't want to play your guitar.
That's very true.
Because they do lead you in different places.
They do.
But there is also a lot to be said for the focus and simplicity of knowing one instrument.
Yeah.
And I guess if we talk about a lot of great players down the years, they will have had their time on a specific guitar or a small number of specific guitars for a given period.
Yeah. I think it takes a long time to explore an instrument.
Yeah, and there are other people who use
really...
loads of guitars, aren't there? So that's cobblers, isn't it?
Well, it depends on who you are, though. Like, if you're Tom Bukovac, you can find that thing in guitar in a matter of seconds. It's taken me a long time to...
But even he broke his heart to get a 59
there you go.
335.
There you go.
And that... He loves that guitar.
Yeah.
Jason Isbell with
his 59 Les Paul
with the burst.
Yeah, amazing story. The red eye.
And then we're back to motivated reasoning, aren't we? And how much psychological value is in the instrument because of what it is. We say yes.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about it really seriously after the whole Strat debacle. The fly in the ointment is we do need a bunch of guitars on TPS to do the show properly. And I like having different things.
Yeah.
I do like having different things. But yeah, one guitar, what a novel thought that would be.
You can only play one at a time, see?
Yeah, but you can have 9 in the rack. That's like all those people to say, why don't you get a guitar with a humbucker in the bridge and like a Floyd and a trem setter and 18 different wiring so it can do all sounds. I'm like, no. Why have one guitar when you can have 10? That would be my argument to that. If Line 6 really wanted to flipping change the guitar world, what they do is they make a guitar with one sound that's got 18 different shapes. So when you hit the button, it turns into a 335.
There you go.
And it sounds exactly the same because we all sound the flipping same anyway, no matter what guitar we play.
Yeah, exactly.
So it just, what you get is like, no, now I want a cherry red 335. Bink. There you go, Line 6. You can have that one.
Very good. Very good.
Reza El Ghazi. This is a question that may have relevance to the last one. He says, I know TPS is mostly about pedals and amps and hats. But if you were to produce and sell one single TPS guitar, what would it look like? Would it be some Telestrat Fusion? What would it sound like?
Oh, man.
That's really a great question.
How about a note? No. Because I'm thinking about this today. About how I love on a Strat, this bit of contour here, and puts your arm in a different position. If I did that on a telly, just that one contour change, it ceases being a Telecaster.
Yeah, completely.
And you play it completely differently. It's like, I don't want that. So
And I keep folding.
I keep folding,
And then I've got this.
and there's a little guy in here,
There's
and who's over
miniature
here.
food.
So, you know, Mick's guitar is a go-to Strat. We'd have to have 2 guitars. There's no other way around it, because if we try and make an amalgamation of our favorite guitars, it'd end up being something that has to compromise in certain areas, and we just don't do that.
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough.
Great question, though.
Really great question. As much as I love Strats,
Soon.
just that was my stomach, all right? It wasn't anything lower than my stomach. I don't know, what guitar should it be? See, we love Tellys, Strats, Juniors, 335s and Les Pauls.
Love them.
Is what we love. We love all guitars, but we especially love those. I do wonder if the double cut Les Paul Junior with 2 pickups, the special, is maybe the best guitar ever made ever.
It's not, because the special, with the routing where the P90 is, affects the neck joint.
So the single pickup.
It has to, because I've had the special. I had the same year special and the junior, and they are vastly different guitars.
Oh, I meant the one with the bigger horn, not the.
Yeah, but it's still it's where that. None of this makes any difference, of course. It's only about the pickup.
It's only about the pickup.
But where that is routed for that P90, something about the tangs and everything, and the neck does this.
Okay.
And it's a different thing.
Affects the tone, yeah. Okay. All right. We can't answer that question. Sorry.
Great question, though.
Yeah, great question. Great question.
Curtis R says the meat feast is coming. Yes, it is.
It is.
And I, for one, couldn't be more excited.
Vinoth Kumar. Hi, Vinoth. He says, I've been learning to play guitar for the last couple of years over the pandemic. I've collected too many pedals in the last 2 years, thanks to you two. Keep up the great work.
Thank you, mate. And no such thing as too many. It's called a good start.
Thanks, Vinoth. Chris Collins Guitar. He's in Hong Kong. He says, greetings from Hong Kong. Hope you're both well. I'm currently developing my guitar instructional YouTube channel.
Lovely.
To adapt to the times and keep my family fed. Do you have any advice on growth? Yes. Be consistent with your publishing time and frequency.
Mm-hmm.
If you can possibly try to be yourself, try to be yourself.
Yep. And don't assume pre-levels of knowledge.
Yeah.
Make sure that you are, explaining things that if I'm clicking on YouTube because I want to learn something, it means that there's stuff that I don't know and I'm interested in. So you need to, don't assume any sort of...
It's a tough market, isn't it? Because... we know, you've only got to look at YouTube numbers, that in terms of if numbers is what you want, and numbers doesn't equate to income always, but it usually does. If numbers is what you want, what people want is cheap, easy, quick stuff they know. So they want to learn riffs and licks by famous bands in terms of tuition content. And that is obviously covered by various copyrights and all of that, so you can't just publish that stuff and get away with it. If you go to the other end of the scale and look at something like what TrueFire does, with that very, very structured
it's
tuition content that's not, I don't think it's expensive, but it's not cheap. Where you might pay $30 or $40 for a course, which seems stupendously cheap to me, yet a great many people in the world fundamentally disagree with paying for anything on the internet. Anyway, whatever. I guess there's a place somewhere in between those two things where you have to carve out a niche, or a niche for our American friends. And you're never going to beat TrueFire for features and benefits,
yep,
unless you set up something really amazing. with a few $1 million worth of investment. You'll never beat Ultimate Guitar for learning how to play Whole Lot of Rosie.
Yeah.
So the only thing you've got is you.
Yep.
You're the only differentiator in the game. Your people will find you.
They will.
If you're you.
Yep.
But if you just try and outgun everyone else, it will be a long, hard slog.
Yeah.
Not trying to disparage you, Chris.
Wish you the very best of luck, mate.
Everything that we've done here and the fact that we're still going has been entirely by accident and partial stupidity. And because we didn't need to earn any money, because we both had jobs that paid the rent, so we could pour our investment, which was time, into it and not earn anything. Mm-hmm. So that was a great advantage that we had.
Yeah, and it was a long time before there was any money in TPS.
And it still it still wouldn't pay salaries. It's still not there. Not for the whole operation anyway. So it's that said, don't let us put you off, because clearly online there is a great route to getting a lot of customers who can pay a small amount of money and provide a living for what you're doing. I guess you've just got to find that thing that's you, that's your specific take on things, and get people hooked into it. And what else? Under promise, over deliver. Always. Be you.
Yeah.
If you can possibly be you. It was a hard lesson for me and Dan. We are almost us now.
Yeah.
And that bit of time, confidence. Time brings a bit of confidence in that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Good luck, mate.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Seriously. And if we can help get the word out, the word in the streets, we will gladly do so.
Taking it to the streets.
Yeah. Once you've got it up, Chris, please come back on and we will give it a shout out, and we'll get everyone in this feed to go there and check it out.
Indeed.
Zachary Manzanetti. Hello, Zachary.
Hey, Zachary.
Thanks to BV and to Catherine too.
Indeed.
We concur. I run TPS style wet dry, and I like my reverb into both amps, but echo into only one. Into only one. The Collider says the Collider won't. Any small footprint stereo dual mono options, going to be getting G3 soon, so that can help with the splitting. So
the Collider won't do that, because what you need is a reverb pedal that's has proper stereo inputs.
Oh, I see.
So you can split signal, go on the delay, and then come back into the reverb pedal.
Yeah.
Stereo inputs left and right. Now, some reverb pedals do this because they've got two independent reverb engines. Some reverb pedals, they say they've got a stereo input. In actual fact, it's the input is summed and then the reverb is stereo. So you need to make sure when you're looking for a reverb pedal that it has true independent stereo, independent left and right inputs. And that's, as long as you've got that, then you can split the signal, but wherever you like, do your wet dry thing, then back into the stereo reverb, and you'll be good to go.
Do check. So for all Source Audio pedals, or at least the complex ones, there is the Neuro app.
Yeah.
Do check that there is not an option in there where you can turn off. You might be able to mute one side of it.
Yeah.
It might. I don't know that it is, but check the app and see what editing possibilities you've got in the app. See if you can turn the left side of the delay off or something. You never know.
Yeah. Yeah, good luck, mate.
You never know. Good luck.
Paul Matulovic says, I hear Dan's stomach. It cries out for meat feast. Our stomachs are talking to each other.
I know. I'm not quite sure why. I'm not. Anyway, yeah. Grant McCosey says the Fender Mischief Maker. Yeah, I hear you, Grant. The Great Dell.
The Great Dell.
Hello, Dell.
Isn't he great?
He says, can you do a live show after dark? where we all get a bit sauced, and Dan and Mick say swearies. Mick said shit earlier, and it was great.
We are going to do a show.
Love you, Del. Thanks for that.
We are going to do a show where we get dug in and we play something and then we have a drink, play again, have a drink, and then just see what happens.
Yeah. And who knows, there might be swearies. Apologies to everyone who's, offended by swearing. I happen to think it's big and clever and I love it. I've been trying to teach my nephews words and they know way more than me. So anyway, Jesse Daly.
Hey, Jesse.
He says, I'm working on my Schmidt Array 750 XDM build. God, blimey, yes you are. Featuring G3 Atom and 2 letterboxes. Soldering cables is taking me ages though. Hope you're both doing well today. Would love to grab a drink if you're ever in Colorado.
Oh, mate. Well, if we're ever in Colorado, we will hit you up. We'd love
great.
that drink.
Yeah. Good luck with that, Jesse.
Yeah.
I know things like that, right? They take ages, don't they? And they do seem like a chore, but it is really fantastic quality time. That
It totally
I love
is.
doing stuff like that. As much as I moan about it, especially if I'm trying to film myself doing it. But if you don't have to go through the hassle of filming yourself, you just stick some music on.
And it's wonderful.
Coffee, beer, I don't know, whatever you want. And just what quality time that is.
It's lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cheers, mate. Thank you.
S. Crawford Music. Hello, S. Crawford. No question, just glad I caught you live this week.
Oh, cool.
Carry on.
Thank you, mate.
Eric Burnson. Hello, Eric. Best option in the States for custom length DC power cable making.
I don't know.
Don't know, sorry. I would have thought. Now, it depends what the connectors are. So if you've got like Boss type barrel jacks on each end, one would assume you can buy those in varying lengths.
Yeah, you can get them in various lengths. You can also get them like Three Monkeys do a solderless version.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
So it's whether you want them terminated or whether you want them terminatable.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe someone in the comments will know. There'll certainly be places that do that if you want a specific length.
Contribute to the leather upholstery in Jeff Bezos's next Ferrari and just buy a crap load on Amazon.
There you go.
Which is obviously environmentally horrific and a bunch of other things, but that's what I would do. Ends of legs, says Curtis R.
Hello, Curtis R.
You may not have noticed, but my 7-year-old daughter has surreptitiously joined your band on her purple ukulele.
Fantastic!
She's the one standing way back in Kansas City. Loves to watch you with her dad. Much love.
That's epic. Thank you, mate. How lovely.
We've got no name there, Curtis. So to young Curtis R's daughter, thanks for being with us, and we love the fact you've got a purple ukulele. Awesome. I think what she needs, though, Curtis, is a flying V-shaped one, and I can tell you they are available.
Very good.
Brian Garcia, new guitar day. Finally finished a Partsacaster. I planned a year ago, a culmination of everything vintage I love with everything modern I love. Couldn't have done it without Mick's Strat knowledge. Cheers, D&M. Oh, nice one, Brian. That's cool. That's very satisfying, that, isn't it?
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
I attached a bit of wood to a ceiling earlier.
He did.
That was satisfying. It does have a camera mount on it.
It does. It was, yeah, very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Moz Wright. My Duchess Deluxe into a 112 is a brilliant for home use, says Moz Wright. Thank you, Moz Wright.
Yeah. Great shout.
Yeah, I guess that's the Victory Duchess Deluxe. Yeah, V40 Deluxe, I guess. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, great master volume on that and some good low power modes too.
Lovely. Lovely.
Vibas Patil,
Hello,
gents. Mate. Hello, Vibas. Gents, I recently got a PRS Carina 22 that has three P90s. Oh, that's very cool. It's like a Strat on steroids. The P90s along with the KOT and Tumnus through the Badger 35 sound like magic.
Oh, come on.
Have you tried one of these guitars? Hugely underrated.
You've got double PRS, double P90 guitar.
Yeah. This is Carina body and 3 P90s.
Ah, man.
I remember when they first did a 3 P90 PRS and we had it on Guitarist, and I really like that guitar. It wasn't Carina body one. I bet that's pretty magic, actually.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, nice.
Very nice, mate.
Nice. Doing a reservation with new electrical, says Giovanni Botta. Giovanni Botta. Any suggestions to minimise noise in my new music room? A separate circuit breaker? Anything else? Love the show, guys.
Okay. Right. Don't use dimmer switches in the lighting. If you can put it on its own ring mains for that room to try and isolate things as much as possible. It is tricky, but if you can just be aware of things like anything that uses like those small switching transformers that do things like what's that? There's the Live 360 stuff that you can control all your things from your phone.
Oh yeah.
You know, the stuff that just dumps
Bluetooth.
all the digital noise to ground.
Yeah.
If you have a separate ring mains for your room, and you know any Sparky can put that in for you, it will help. But you know, minimize as much of that stuff as possible. Anything
Dimmers, all that kind of stuff.
Fluorescent lights, all that stuff. It's just like, you know, use proper light bulbs. And I found lamps, as opposed to using the light up here, you know, having some nice lamps in the corners, you know, to give you all the lighting and stuff that you need, and keeping that away from valve amps and stuff.
Yeah. I don't know if the direction of the mains cabling itself makes a difference, does it, with RF?
If it was crossing your audio stuff, it will do. Look, yes, the cabling, all that stuff makes a difference. The bigger difference though is those. Do you remember those the dimmer switches that were like what are the big power
Variac.
those dimmer switches that were like a Variac, right? That's not what people use now. That's all digital switching stuff, and it's just so noisy.
Yeah.
Just keep away from that stuff, and you should be okay.
Yeah.
It's also more complex depending on where you are geography-wise. If you're near the beach,
Under a pylon.
if you're under a pylon, that's going to be tough. If you're near the beach and you're trying to get a good earth in sand, that like loads of venues used to play at the Gold Coast,
Really?
had real trouble with earthing because it was just, you know, they're built on sand, all that sort of stuff. So just making sure that you've got really good ground and, you know, keep it as clean as possible. Best of luck.
Yeah, good luck. Probably talk to a Sparky as well, because they will know about these things, hopefully.
Yeah.
I've just had a notification from DHL that my nitrate celluloid pickguard is on the way down.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
It's a sickness.
Awesome.
Vinoth Kumar again. Hi, Vinoth.
Hi,
He says,
Vinoth.
me again. I've got a Victory V40 Deluxe, Fender Roadhouse Deluxe Strat, Epiphone Les Paul Modern. I like playing clean Mayer-like tones and driven blues and jazz. Any thoughts on getting the best out of these guitars and the amp? Thanks. Right. For the Mayer stuff, obviously you want to play the Strat. Try positions 2 and 4. So a mix of the bridge in the middle and the neck.
Has he ever done 335 Les Paul stuff? I saw when he was playing with B.B. King, he was on that 335, wasn't he?
John Mayer.
Yeah.
I think when he had his Fender deal, he had a Guild 335 like guitar.
Right.
He's
Okay.
not a massive humbucker user. I mean, he's got like rock guitars he uses every now and again, but Although that said, of course, he had his PRS Modern Eagle. Was that what he had? Is that what it was called?
Right.
Something like that. But we know him for single coil Strat tones, don't we? Is what we know him for best. I guess before that he had his Rick. What's that guitar that Lindsay Buckingham plays?
Rick Moranis.
Rick Turner.
Rick Turner.
He had a Rick Turner guitar. I don't know what pickup was in that. Anyway, we know him best for Strat type tones. So try positions 2 and 4. I don't know if the Deluxe Roadhouse Strat has a humbucker in the bridge, actually. Might have. Can't remember. In which case you want position 4, middle and neck. And on the V40 Deluxe, turn the master up as high as you can. And keep the preamp gain pretty low so that you've got a clean headroom, loads of reverb. Put it on mid voice 2, plenty of mid range in there.
Yeah.
Plenty of bass, plenty of treble, plenty of everything.
Yep.
But try and keep it clean, and that's where your clean Maya sounds come from.
Yep.
For the driven blues and jazz, let's switch over to the Epiphone Les Paul Modern. Now I don't know what's modern about the Les Paul.
It's new.
Maybe it's got a Floyd or something. Nope. Looks like a Les Paul. Great. Normal pickups. Kind of do the opposite with the preamp gain and the master volume. So get that preamp gain up around 2-3 o'clock. Master volume down a bit lower to taste. And just use that bridge pickup on that guitar to drive that through. Again, voice 2. Plenty of mids dialed in, and you'll get a really nice strong overdrive. Might be that you want to max the preamp gain out. The V40 Deluxe will do really nice overdrive.
It will do. Yeah, it will do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so much more so if you want to push it with a boost of some description. But yeah, that's how you do that. For the jazz side of it, again, this is a bit of a cliche, but go back to the Maya type settings, get onto the neck pickup of that Les Paul, and that'll serve you pretty well.
Yep, and just play with the tone control on that neck pickup.
Yeah, turn it all off, play all the wrong notes in all the wrong order. Perfect jazz.
What did you put on my birthday card? Shat Martino, right notes, wrong order, and vice versa.
So I wind jazz up about Dan all the time. Wind Dan up about jazz all the time. The history is on Guitarist magazine. Jan Serka and his mate Toby Braccino, I think it was, or it might have been Toby Braccino's mate. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Jan Serka used to do this thing called Jack and Bobby, and Jack and Bobby used to do a skit on the Guitarist CD back when compact discs came on magazines. Anyway, Jack and Bobby's Guide to Jazz.
Very good.
Roll alt tone off guitar. Make sure clothes smell of broken biscuits. Play all wrong notes. Etc.
Very good.
Yeah. Sorry, it's a bit of an in-joke. Yeah, good luck, Vinoth. Hope you enjoy that. Love Svensson. Hello from Sweden. I currently have a Telecaster, a Vox AC15 and a Dane pedal.
Lovely.
What good OD pedals would work for a second gain stage?
Into a Vox AC15, one of the best ones you can get is the Hot Cake by Crowther Audio, just made for Vox style tones. Or get one of these. Look at that thing. How awesome is that?
Okay, so actually they're not as expensive as
no, they're not,
as you would think. However, much more attainable is something like an Analog Man Beano Boost.
Yeah.
Get a treble booster, because there's nothing like it into a Vox.
No, they're truly magical.
So what, Analog Man Beano Booster or Keeley?
Keeley Java Boost.
Does he still do the Java?
Is it the Java? It is the Java. I'm not sure if he still does them, but he used to do them, and there's a bunch out there. There's a bunch of really great treble boosters out there.
But one of
that's
the
the sound.
traditionally voiced ones.
Traditionally voiced one, Analog Man Beano Boost.
Yeah.
Job done.
Yeah. Or go on the waiting list for one of these. Go on the waiting list for one of these. Totally mega. Totally and utterly mega.
Mm.
I think... Oh no, we've got a couple more. Derek Lee. Hello, Derek.
Hello, Derek.
From Australia, Dan.
G'day,
He says,
mate.
Hi Mick, have you played the Fender American Original series? Loved your new Strat vlog and I want to buy a vintage style Strat. Be great if I could get some of your opinions on it. Yeah, I have. Played most of them. The potted history is American vintage Fenders started happening in the sort of mid to late 80s. Late 80s. And since from then until now, they've got more and less vintage specific. So Blue, for example, which is this one.
Mick is now heading over, picking up a blue Stratocaster.
Which was the previous, kind of around mid-90s to 2011, 12.
How dark that fingerboard is. It's
Yeah, it's
beautiful.
great board. Were not really that accurate. You had a 62 and a 57 style one, and they were sort of an amalgam of features correct for the period. What you did get was a 7¼ inch radius board. This is one from 2012, and in 2012 they went nuts on the spec.
Right.
And they made it really accurate with all kinds of, well, I say really, they made it more accurate with all kinds of period-specific features. And in that you could get a 56, a 59, which could be either maple or rosewood board because that's when the transition happened.
Right.
A 6, and this is one of the 59 ones, or a 65, which is the later one with a blocky logo, a couple of other different things, grey bottom pickups. So they went more specific in that period. When American Original came out, they went less specific again. So they went back to something closer to this. I don't know why. So they're not as vintage specific. I've even got a feeling they might have gone to a 9.5 inch board.
Oh, wow.
You'd need to check that, which is lots more people prefer 9.5 than prefer 7¼
Sure.
So good guitars, the modern kind of nitro finish, vintage type spec. But as with all Fenders, whether it's a Squire classic vibe or a custom shop fancy pants thing, it depends on the guitar.
Yep.
You have to play it.
Yep.
They do vary. But yeah, I'd be, personally, I'd be really happy with a guitar like that. The other thing I'd point you towards, if you can find a used classic series with a nitro finish, they didn't make that many of them, but they made significant number. If you can find one of those in Australia, that is a fantastic buy. That's made in Ensenada, Mexico. Really good vintage spec, but with a nitro cellulose finish. They came in a fairly limited colour palette, but anyway. Failing that, the Vintera Road Warns, or I don't actually think that's the same thing, but the Road Warns they're making now are really good. And the Vinteras are good too. The Vinteras don't have a nitro finish, but they are very good value for money. Really nice vintage specs, and they do some great colours. So yeah, American Original, all good, but some of the higher end of the Ensenada Mexico guitars, excellent as well.
Very good.
Good luck. TCM. He's talking about Permission to Land by The Darkness, a track called Black Shuck.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Don't know it.
Uh,
Oh, the darkness. I like the darkness.
He said, also, it's been a minute. Doo-doo. Such a great song, that. You must have done that in a pub band.
Yeah.
Glad you guys still do the live streams. Thank you, TCM. Thanks for
mate.
being here. Yeah. Awesome guitar tones, and of course, utterly immense singing on any Darkness record.
Man. So good.
LC Vol 73. Hello, fellas. Would there be a huge difference between a Princeton 65 versus a Tone King Imperial Mark II for playing at home? I have the Princeton with Celestian Gold 10 and a Tone King Iron Man 2 Mini. Would it be worth selling what I have for the Tone King? That's really interesting. For my money, those amps are very different. The Princeton's got such a unique voice.
Yeah. Totally.
You've definitely moved it closer with the Alnico speaker. But there's a bigness in the Imperial Mark II that the Princeton never really has.
No.
Even though it's got good bottom end, there seems to be quite a lot of bottom end coming out of that power section. I don't know whether that's because it's less negative feedback or whatever it is. I don't know what the deal is, but there's loads of bottom end in a Princeton, but it's not the same kind of bottom end that you get with a bigger cab.
Yep.
The attenuator in the Tone King, as you already know from your Iron Man, is spectacular. Is it worth it? That's a tough one.
It is a tough one.
Depends how loud you play, and it depends on the tones you want. If there's something specific the Princeton isn't doing. So, of course, one of the benefits of the Imperial Mark II is that it's got dual channel setup, and you can crank the gain in that second channel, which you can't do in the Princeton. The only way you can do it in the Princeton is to turn it up. You've also... is there tremolo in the Princeton?
No, just reverb. Oh, hang on. No, just reverb.
My flipping guts are going mad.
I hear it.
Oh, come on, show a bigger picture. Yeah, it does have tremolo.
That's what I said. That's tremolo.
Yeah, oh, you did say that.
No.
No, I didn't think you did. Yes, so both have got reverb and tremolo. It's a really tough one, that. Because that's quite a lot of money for the Tone King.
You just have to weigh up the differences and see if what you're after is that Princeton sound, there's nothing else is going to give it to you. But if what you want is more flexibility, and the power scaling in that, then Tone King.
Yeah. If you were starting from scratch and you had the option of a Princeton with a attenuator or the Tone King, what would you have?
For what I do, oh man, that's really tricky. I'd have to have a Princeton with a 12-inch.
Yeah, okay.
You know what I mean? I'd have to go down that route because I couldn't if I just...
It's no issue for me. I'd have the Tone King because I just like bigger boxes.
Yeah, but it's exactly that.
Yeah.
But because I can't do that, it's like, no, Tone King. And I promise you, every time I plugged into that Tone King, it sounded spectacular. At no point have I ever gone, yeah, it's nice, but, you know, it just always sounds great. Both channels sound great as well.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
which is unusual.
Which is really rare, I think.
Yeah. Okay, that would be us.
Oh,
We're a bit late, Dan.
we're a bit late. That's all right.
I can gently encourage Catherine to put things in the oven while we're on the journey home.
Okay, all right.
Good. Bjorn Lodvar Larsen says car Rambler. It's like a Fender on steroids. Yeah, car amps. How lovely are car amps.
How wonderful.
Yes. Good. Okay, everyone. Thanks for being with us. This Friday we think is going to be a short show. We've got something in the bag which is just it's a continuation. We did a show on boosts and we did a show on overdrives, and one of the questions that comes up all the time is, should you put your overdrive before your boost or your boost before your overdrive? It seems so simple, it almost beggars belief that we're still asking this question, but we are still asking this question, and we are still asking this question.
Yeah.
So there's a short video on Friday that will delve into that. Yeah,
That's cool. It's fun.
yeah, we're filming tomorrow for some more shows, but I don't think I've got time to edit anything before Friday, so it's going to be a short one on Friday.
Yeah, lovely.
Yes. And then when my plastics turn up, more Strat pickup insanity. And then that's it, I'm done. When I make the decision, Dan, I'm going to sell everything.
Right.
All the other bits. I'll put them on the TPS store at very advantageous prices. And we'll spend the money on beer or something.
Excellent.
Yeah?
Excellent. All right, I'm right there with you.
Cool. Obviously, I won't sell the ones I've been given. Ron, in case you're watching. Right. Much love to you all.
Much love.
We'll see you on
On
Friday.
this Valentine's Day. Can't be with the one you love. Pick up and play guitar.
Love the one you love. That's such a sad.
Oh, it's terrible.
I mean, what a lyric.
It's awful.
Yeah. Come on then, Dan. Love the one you're with.